So Tyler and Jack Fletcher are the twin sons of Darren Fletcher and are currently playing in the United under-18s, with them being 17-18 midway through March. However, whilst you may assume that both players being midfielders would play like their dad, I would actually argue that stylistically one of them is more similar to one of Darren Fletcher's former Manchester United teammates, with the other being similar in style to one of the best playmakers in Premier League history. And so in this video I'm first going to analyse Jack Fletcher and then come on to Tyler, alongside using a new grading system I've come up with to give numerical values to young players, and so I'm going to be doing this with both players in terms of their current and potential ability, before later I give you the name of an under-18 player from a rival Premier League club who has only just turned 15 years old and already looks like a generational talent in the under-18s, and could even be available on a free or just for some compensation when he does turn 17 and is able to sign his first professional contract. But let's start with Jack Fletcher. What type of player is he and how good is he? Well, before I break that down, a quick reminder, if you do want to check out any cheap good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.com. They've got a variety of different retro jerseys with Manchester United shirts going all the way back to the early 90s. You can use code ALANCE at checkout for a 10% discount for a limited time, and depending on where you live you can get 7 to 12 day delivery time as well as a money back guarantee. If you do want to get in contact with them, they do have their WhatsApp and email on the site. So I'll leave it linked in the description and comment section below, and remember to use code ALANCE at checkout for a 10% discount. Well, in terms of style, I would compare Jack Fletcher to Mesut Ozil, which I guess is a pretty obvious shout if you've watched him play, as like Ozil, he has quite an upright body posture, but despite him being around 6'1" in height, he's still able to turn with the ball incredibly fluidly, which accompanied with his playmaking attributes means that his best role is probably as a roaming playmaker in a midfield three, with two more industrious central midfielders around him, or as an outright number 10 in a 4-2-3-1, or in Amorim's system either in Bruno Fernandes's role in the 3-5-2, or as a right-sided interior forward in the 3-4-3. And predictably, his best attributes are all to do with his playmaking. His vision and weight of pass are a cut above other players his age, and like Ozil, he's always seemingly composed and relaxed when he does receive possession, even under pressure. And whilst he does have the ability to carry the ball into space when he receives it in behind the opposition's midfield line, I don't think he's explosive enough for me to really consider him developing into a Morgan Rogers type of ball carrier, but he isn't exactly slow across the ground when carrying the ball forward either. Although his real quality is his vision, weight of pass, technique and decision making, which work to combine to make him United's under-18 side's main playmaker in the attack, and not just in advanced areas between the lines, when slotting other players in behind the back line, but also against deeper defensive blocks as well, where he is often given the freedom to roam from more advanced positions, looking to drop into deeper areas in front of the opposition's defensive shape, in order to allow him to get onto the ball and look to dictate the tempo of play, and speed up play when needed via direct switches of play, carries into space, or incisive passes threaded between the lines. Now I'll come on to what he would specifically offer Amorim's system in just a minute, as I do think he offers something that United currently lack. But first let's analyse his brother Tyler Fletcher. So Tyler Fletcher stylistically is a bit different to his brother Jack. As whilst like Jack, Tyler has a tall and slender build, I'd compare him more to someone like Michael Carrick compared with someone like Mesut Ozil. Not being the type of midfielder who's necessarily going to be playing the killer pass to create the opportunity, but a player who can thread the pass into a playmaker between the lines such as his brother earlier on in the move. And that's because Tyler Fletcher is very efficient in possession, with him very rarely taking more touches than needed, and I actually feel he often makes his circulation of the ball and incisive passes look too easy if anything, and so you do have to watch quite a lot of him in order to realise how good he is at doing the simple things like controlling a ball straight under pressure, twisting and turning with possession in order to create space, and then being able to firmly punch a pass to split the midfield line. Now Jack Fletcher can do this as well, although whilst he's a better creator in the final third, I do think Tyler is a better of the two in deeper areas of the pitch, with his passing range, ball control and disguised technique being just as good as his brother Jack when it comes to progressing the ball from in front of the opposition's defensive shape, but he's also got the added athleticism to powerfully carry the ball into space when it's there as well. Tyler, being a deeper lying midfielder compared to Jack, is better defensively, being a bit quicker across the ground when it comes to jumping in front of the opposition players and looking to make an interception, and also being more athletic than Jack when it comes to going box to box, as well as being able to use his athleticism to cover ground in general and drive the ball forward through the centre of the pitch, which are all valuable assets that he has in his locker. And this brings me back to what Jack Fletcher could offer Ruben Amorim in his 3-4-3, and that is essentially what only Bruno Fernandes can provide, and that is killer passing on the transition in the midfield, and cuter passes around the box in more congested areas with disguise, both of which Jack Fletcher excels in. Tyler Fletcher, on the other hand, as I just mentioned, would also bring the necessary athleticism, efficient ball circulation, ball carrying, and progressive passing that Amorim's midfield has been lacking, with Eriksen and Casemiro in there. And also, what really impresses me about both is their press resistance in deeper areas of the pitch, as against Arsenal there were multiple times when either of the twins would drop to receive the ball with their back to goal, whether this was in the build-up phase or in the middle third, and they not only showed their high-level ball control, but also high-level awareness as well, of not only when and where the pressure was coming from, but also how to manipulate the ball and their body positioning in order to keep possession and turn away from pressure before driving into space. So how would Jack and Tyler Fletcher fit into Amorim's 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 systems? Well, they both play similar roles in a few different phases of play. In the build-up phase, they'd be expected to drop to the edge of the box, wherefrom I think they've shown they definitely have the ability to use their press resistance in order to play out of pressure. They will obviously have to adapt to the physicality and intensity of senior football, but I definitely think both players suit this role well in build-up. Now in the middle third during settled possession, as we saw in the FA Youth Cup game against Arsenal, both will likely drop off in front of the opposition's defensive shape in order to get on the ball and look to keep the pace of ball circulation high, whilst also progressing the ball into the final third as well. And whilst both would be valuable in this regard, I think their skill sets would mean they would do this in different ways. Tyler Fletcher is a very good circulator of the ball from those deeper areas, but can also drive forward into space when it's afforded to him. Jack Fletcher can also do this, but in general I think his skill set is more tailored to threading passes between the lines, using his disguise technique to hide his intentions, or creating via long passes out wide or over the back line. Now in this sense, stylistically, Tyler Fletcher is probably a lot more similar to his dad, being someone who, if he was to come into the United first team, would probably play the role of a box-to-box midfielder initially, mainly because of the athleticism and energy that he would bring to the centre of midfield, allowing him to make third man runs ahead of the forward line, looking to break into dangerous positions in behind the back line, and then maybe developing into more of a deeper line playmaker and a dictator of play in the mould of a Michael Carrick as he gets into his early to mid-20s. Jack Fletcher, on the other hand, will come into United's system as one of the main playmakers, and whilst he is mainly going to want to operate in settled possession, his ability to see and then play a killer through ball means that he can also be a creative threat on the transition. For example, if United are using a 5-3-2 defensive shape in the middle third, with Jack Fletcher as one of the two interior forwards, if the defensive line or the midfield double pivot behind are able to create a turnover, Jack Fletcher will now be positioned in an optimal area ahead of play where he can look to receive the ball to feet, and just like Mesut Ozil would do for Jose Mourinho's Real Madrid on the counter from 2010 to about 2013, performing that kind of Eganche role, receiving possession and rather than being the player to drive forward into the space, carrying the play into the final third, which is more likely what his brother's going to do, Jack instead is going to look to move the play on efficiently with through balls and switches of play from that central area. But whilst Jack Fletcher would probably be more effective from an offensive point of view, if Amorim wanted someone who he could use in that role, they has been using Toby Collier in as a kind of water carrier who can be used in either a 5-3-2 or a 5-4-1 out of possession, then Tyler Fletcher is going to be the better option, as I think his athleticism and awareness of playing that deeper role midfield is going to enable him to perform the necessary defensive duties, such as tracking underlapping runs in behind the wing back, and all round bringing the sort of intensity and defensive capabilities that Amorim's midfield currently needs. And so overall, if I had to give the Fletcher twins a rating on the new system I talked about in the Jim Thwaites video, if you haven't seen that, I'll leave a link in the eye above, I would have to give both Fletcher twins a slightly lower potential rating than Thwaites. I gave Thwaites a potential rating of 15, which is Champions League knockout round starter level, and Hilo Fernandez a 16, which is elite level, but I do rate Jim Thwaites' potential as higher than either of the Fletcher twins, and I don't just want to give every United youngster an obscenely high rating as it ruins the whole point of the objective rating system, but on current ability like Thwaites and Hilo, who are rated 8 and 9 out of 20 for current ability respectively, with 8 being around average championship squad player and 9 being a fairly good championship regular starter, I'd give both Jack and Tyler Fletcher an 8 out of 20 at the moment on current ability, and for potential I'd give Tyler a 13, whichever 10 is an average Premier League squad player, 11 an average Premier League starter, 12 being an important starter for a mid-table club, 13 being an average starter for a top 7 or a top 8 club, and 14 for the same sort of clubs would be an important starting player, and I'd rate Jack Fletcher slightly higher at 14 for his potential ability. So let me know some other players who you want me to analyse and rate. If you do want to check out any football jerseys, they will be linked in the comment section and description below, and remember to use code ATLANTIS at checkout for a 10% discount for a limited time, and if you do want to sign up to my Patreon to read any of my articles or get access to the in-game Instagram group chat, I'll leave that linked on the end screen now along with another video.